Interesting setting to announce some major breaking news. But David, take it away.
Well, I will be retiring from the nature of things at the end of this season. Hello, I'm David Suzuki.
I'm David Suzuki.
Hello, I'm David Suzuki.
So how many years has it been? 44?
Yeah.
Welcome to the nature of things.
The nature of things.
I think this is an appropriate question to ask somebody who's on the verge of retiring. How do you want to be remembered?
When I'm dead, I don't give a shit what people think about me. I'll be dead. So I've done my job.
So why now? Why have you made the decision to retire?
I've wanted to retire for a long time. I'm way past my best before date, but for a long time it was felt I'd become so closely identified with the show that if I left, they might cancel the series. But gradually it was clear that we could be ready for another host, and I think it's about time.
So over the years, so many people have watched the program in so many countries, right? It's had a huge impact on lots of people. But I know the program has had a huge impact on you. In particular, there was an interview you did in 1982, 40 years ago, on what was then Queen Charlotte Islands, now Haida Gwaii, speaking to Guja, a Haida artist. Tell me what's so significant about that interview.
For me, it really changed my insight as an environmentalist.
I'm on Windy Bay in the Queen Charlotte Islands off the coast of British Columbia.
We go up to Haida Gwaii, and I didn't know anything about First Nations at that time.
It was here that the Haida Indians hunted and fished. They used these trees to build their totems, their dugouts, and their longhouses.
And I interview forest company executives, loggers, Haida environmentalists, and logging was providing jobs for many Haida. So I said to Guja, one of the guys that had been leading the fight against logging, what difference does it make to you if the trees are all cut down?
A forest like that, the ocean, and those things are what keep us as Haida people. If they're logged off, we'd probably end up the same as everyone else, I guess.
I thought, what the heck? He said, to be me as a Haida, it means being connected to the air, the water, the fish, the trees. All of that is what makes them who they are. For me, it started a whole new chapter in my life. We are intimately connected. There's no separation between us and the air, between us and nature.
In 2022, to hear you give that message sounds kind of in balance with a lot of things, including public opinion. But back in 1982, did you feel like you and the small group of people who describe themselves as environmentalists, did you feel sometimes like you were shouting into the wind?
Well, no, I've never felt that we were voices in the wilderness. There were always people calling for change, but we were up against very powerful forces. We had a bullet fired through our window here during the fights over forests in the 80s.
If they think you can cut down a virgin forest and pay a bunch of kids to go and stick seedlings in the ground and somehow that's reforestation, they've got rocks in their head.
There were towns in BC during those battles when, well, basically I was told, don't you show your face around here. I was jogging up in Haida Gwaii and a truck came by and he saw me and he slowed down. I thought he wanted to talk, so I jogged up to him and he immediately heeled the truck over and drove me into the ditch.
You certainly don't back down from a fight and don't seem fearful. And another piece of tape we're going to play is you being tough with John Baird, the environment minister at the time.
You know, what you promised was a long way from what you delivered.
You're laughing now. What was your motivation for that?
Well, I was trying to nail him because he had been appointed by a Harper government, which was very hostile to any discussion about climate change. Baird was brought in and saying, you know, we know that climate change is real, which was a big deal. But then he was just papering everything over. And there was an opportunity.
It's not enough, John. You know, there's a lot of opportunity. Please come and see us.
We're very happy. Okay.
I didn't go there looking for him. I just happened to be there, and he was there. But hell, I mean, that's nothing. You know, the big fear is when you're up against a logger and he's mad as hell. That's a much more direct physical threat.
Any politician who tells you these products are safe is either very, very stupid or they're lying.
Where is a sense of urgency? Have we so polluted our environment, we've got to buy water in bottles?
Your approach has been to be, I mean, choose your adjective, aggressive, some might say abrasive. How do you feel about that approach now?
Well, I wish I'd been more aggressive than I was then. You see, I was taught a very important lesson from my dad in high school. I became the president of the student body, and there was some issue. I can't remember what the issue was, but I gave some namby-pamby answer, and my dad said, "Why the hell did you say that? That's not what you think." And I said, "Oh, I didn't want people to be mad at me." Boy, did he get mad at me. He said, "What the hell are you going to stand for? If you want everybody to like you," he said, "then you're not going to stand for anything." There are always going to be people who will object to or disagree with you. My dad was my big teacher, and he kicked my ass on that and said, if you believe things, you've got to stand up and expect people to fight against you.
Even today, I mean, there's a huge amount of respect for you, but there's also people who kind of push back.
Yes.
And you've been criticized before for having a relatively large, gorgeous house. How do you square that with being an environmentalist?
Well, I bought the house 48 years ago, and we've lived here. My in-laws, my mother-in-law and father-in-law lived upstairs for 35 years.
This is Severn, and we're standing right outside where she's going to live for the rest of her life. This is going to be home.
Our daughters grew up here with Grandpa and Grandma upstairs. This is our home. This isn't a piece of real estate. This is our home, and I'm honored and privileged to have bought this home right on the water. And of course, over 48 years, the value of property skyrockets. But that's the history which people can take or not take. I think the important thing is that this kind of attack is used as somehow a reason to avoid whatever I'm saying. But that doesn't mean the message isn't real.
These glasses are rotating my world 180 degrees.
One of the things we try to do in these interviews is show things about the subject that people haven't usually seen. These are some scenes and outtakes from Nature Things.
There are three kinds of people: those who understand numbers and those who don't.
The world of science has something for everyone. The sports buff.
Within a single species, an explosion of cultures. From a single brain, a veritable cascade.
It's nice to see a different David Suzuki there. What does this montage say about you?
Well, I mean, we had a lot of fun while we were doing it. I did my first television series. It was just a local channel in 1962. And at that time, I thought, people need to be educated about science. Where the hell is science? It's the most important factor shaping our lives today. And I always thought of TV as kind of a cesspool, but I thought my programs are going to glisten like jewels. But what I found is when you jump into a cesspool, you look like a turd like everybody else.
Let's talk about science some more, because I think from the perspective of being in the pandemic now, we're going to look back at the speed and efficiency with which scientists produced so many vaccines as maybe a high point for science. But at the same time, we have discovered so many people who misunderstand science, misuse information about science. And I just wonder, as a scientist, when you look at that public reaction now, good and bad, what does that tell you about society and science?
Well, it's something I despair at. People have access in any cheap cell phone. They've got access to virtually all the information in the world, but they're not better informed.
It's brainwashing by the media.
There is an enormous mistrust of science as part of the elite. And that is terrifying to me, because the fundamental message of environmentalism is we are all united. We belong to one species.
Okay, let's get the city in the background.
I've spoken to some people before who are on the verge of retirement, and they seem tired, and their passion seems to have quelled. That's not the case with you at all. You have lots of energy, lots of passion.
I'm tired. I'm tired. I am in a very privileged state. I'm an elder. And as an elder, this is the most important part of my life, because I have no vested interest in the status quo. I don't have to kiss anybody's ass in order to get a job or a raise or a promotion. Now I'm in a position of sifting through a lifetime and saying, what have I learned from that I can pass it on? That's my job. And I say to every elder, what have you learned from your life? You know, I'd like to have retired company CEOs, retired economists come out of the woodworks, for Christ's sake, and tell us the truth, that this economic system is what is driving us into the ditch.
Sounds like we're going to still keep hearing from you.
I have no choice. I have no choice.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.